I just want to show you another example of this kind of faulty reasoning about conditional probability. This is a live example from Radical last year sometime. So this is on the front page of the newspaper. It says lung alarm. And look, you need to read the headline first to see what people are saying. It says, there's a lot of people got lung cancer in Turkey. And then it says 91.5% of the people who have lung cancer, the main reason is smoking. And the best treatment is to give up smoking. Now, I don't smoke, and I'm completely convinced that smoking is dangerous to your health, and I discourage people from smoking, but it's important to get the arguments right. And I rather doubt whether it is the case that 90% of people who get lung cancer get it from smoking. Smoking increases your risk of getting lung cancer considerably, but there are lots and lots of other reasons for getting lung cancer, and plenty of people who get lung cancer aren't smokers. You can get cancer. Cancer is a random thing, so you can get cancer even if you've lived a perfect life in the countryside and you're perfectly healthy, you can still get lung cancer. But here you see, not only are they saying something about people, but if you look here, it says the best and cheapest treatment for lung cancer is to give up smoking. In other words, what they're saying there is they're drawing a social conclusion. Well, maybe it's not worth treating people for lung cancer because it's their own fault. I mean, there are plenty of people who organize. So people who smoke, we shouldn't treat them for lung cancer. So let me just blow that up so we can see it a bit better. There it is. NE for energys. The best and cheapest treatment is to fight smoking rather than fighting cancer. Okay, there's a conclusion. Now let's look inside and see what is this the next one? That's it. The next page of this, which you may have difficulty reading on the projection, so I'm going to put up a web page in a minute which has got the same story in it. This is the justification. Now I haven't read the original scientific paper on which this newspaper article is based, but what does it show? Look, it gives some figures for different parts of the country, and it says the percentage of people with lung cancer who smoke. And there it comes down to a total at the bottom, and you've got two figures here, people who don't smoke, people who do smoke. And it says 8.5% of lung cancer sufferers don't smoke, and 91.5% of lung cancer sufferers do smoke. Now, does that figure tell us that lung cancer is caused by smoking? Does it? It's a similar argument to the argument we had before, and it's for a similar reason. You can draw absolutely no conclusion at all from these figures. You can't draw a conclusion from these figures. I can draw you a scenario in which smoking not only doesn't give you lung cancer, but in which smoking protects you from lung cancer, and you could still see these figures. Can you imagine that scenario? Can you imagine that scenario as a scenario in which smoking was good for you? They used to say that in the 1950s, by the way. They used to say that smoking was good for you. It was disinfected your lungs. How could we have a situation where, you've got all these figures and these long arguments, and they repeat here. Those who took part in the survey, 91.5% of them, the cause of their cancer was smoking. But that's not what it says. It says 91.5% of them smoked. That doesn't mean that the cause of their cancer was that they smoked. How could you imagine a situation in which actually smoking was good for you and you still got these figures? There's another figure that we need to think about, isn't there? There's another figure we need to know. Something else we need to know. Number of people. The number of people, it tells you somewhere here in the story, it says how many people were in the several thousand people. 7,300 cancer patients were studied. 7,300 cancer patients were studied. So we know the number of the people. It's a big number. But still you can't draw any conclusion. Why not? What do you need to know whether or not whether smoking has a negative or a positive effect on your health? We can't tell from these figures. Smoking might be good for you. Come on, think about it. We were talking about, it's very similar to the Turks and Kurds arguments before. We said, just knowing that the witness is 80% accurate does not enable you to tell, given that the witness has said Kurd, how likely it is that the thief actually was a Kurd. Now, we're saying 95% of people with cancer smoke. 91.5% of people with cancer smoke. But what does that tell us about people who smoke getting cancer? Does it tell us anything about it? 91.5% of people who get cancer smoke. What do we need to know? There's a figure that's not in this study. I mean, maybe it's in the study, but when they took the figures from the report and put them in the newspaper, they got them wrong. I don't know. Maybe the study is wrong as well. But I suspect that the journalists got it wrong. So it's very important for any of you who are going to be journalists later on that you understand that this is a fallacious argument. This is not a valid argument about smoking, despite the fact that the conclusion is probably right. What else do we need to know? Come on, what do we need to know to be able to tell whether smoking is having a positive or negative effect? We need another piece of information about society. People who smoke but are healthy. Well, that's a good start, isn't it? What do we need to do? That's a very good start. We need to look at the percentage of people who smoke who don't get cancer. Or maybe we want to look at the percentage of people who didn't get cancer who smoked. Both of those will help us. We can work from both of those figures. Because what we need to know is there a difference between healthy people and people who get cancer as far as their smoking is concerned? Very good. Supposing that 98% of people smoke. If 98% of people smoke, but only 91.5% of cancer sufferers smoke, what does that suggest? 98% of people smoke, 91.5% of cancer sufferers smoke. What does that suggest? No, it's just that smoking is good because your chance, your likelihood of getting cancer goes down when you smoke. Right? You're less likely to get cancer when you smoke. If 98% of the population smoke, but only 91.5% of the cancerous sufferers smoke, then actually smoking is having a very big positive effect on your health. So without knowing that figure, without knowing that fact, without knowing the percentage of smokers and non-smokers amongst people who don't get lung cancer, and you've got a matrix here, you've got 4 figures. Cancer, no cancer. Smoking, no smoking. You need to know, just as we had the 4 figures with the really Kurdish, really Turkish, and what the witness saw, you need a matrix like that, 4 cells, and then you can see, then you can draw the conclusion. If somebody smokes, what happens to their chance of getting cancer? Because then you can draw up a table of the population which will give you a good idea that if you smoke, you increase your risk of getting cancer or reduce it. You see, if the proportion of the population who don't smoke is lower, and therefore the proportion of people who don't smoke and don't get cancer is much higher, then we can draw a conclusion. But only then. And unless we know that figure, this figure tells us nothing. It doesn't tell us anything at all. And this is another very good example of the hole that you can fall into if you don't understand about conditional probability. So this is why this particular subject is very, very important. And you can come across examples like this in the newspapers all the time. That is, conclusions which are unsupportable by the facts that are given. So by using this backward argument, just because 90% of cancer sufferers smoke, doesn't mean that 90% of smokers get cancer. In fact, they don't. 90% of smokers don't get cancer. It's a much smaller proportion than that. The important thing is that it's a higher proportion than for non-smokers. But actually many fewer than 90% of smokers get lung cancer. If you smoke, your chance of dying as a result, according to properly conducted studies, is somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2. Not 90%. Somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2. And that 1/3 and 1/2 includes all kinds of other things as well as lung cancer. It includes heart attacks and loads of other things like that, which are also made more likely by smoking. So the risk of lung cancer as a result of smoking is quite low. But it's higher than if you didn't smoke, which is a good reason for not smoking. Okay. Let's see if we had another. No. That's the only 2 pictures we've got. Okay. Do I have another example to show you? No, I don't. Right. I'm going to deal with one other question before we move on to the second subject for this week. Here's an interesting question. Why is it that when you go to a restaurant for the second time, the meal never seems to be as good as the first one? And why is it that when you buy a CD by a group, and then you buy the next one never seems to be as good as all? Let's correct that. In both cases, often the second album isn't as good as the first. So the second meal often isn't as good as the first when you go to a restaurant. The second album often isn't as good as the first from a group. Why should that be the case? Do restaurants and music groups just go off? Or is there some other reason that could explain this phenomenon? Okay, that's a subjective explanation, isn't it? Supposing we could have some objective measure, I maintain that this would still be the case. That it would still be the case that the second CD and the second meal in a restaurant will, on average, be worse than the first. That seems a very strange thing. It's to do with conditional probability. It's to do with conditional probability, and it's nothing to do with your subjective approach to the record. Just that you think it's better, it's worse. No, it really is worse. Why would that be the case? Because there's a hidden assumption there. Isn't there a hidden assumption? Why would you go to a restaurant a second time, and why would you buy a group's second CD? What would be the reason for it? You liked it. You liked it. Good. You liked it. And what we're talking about now is the probability that given that you liked the first one, you're going to like the second one as much. But it's given that you liked the first one. So suppose that all restaurants simply produce good and bad meals at random, and that groups produce good and bad CDs at random. Now let's think about how this works. Suppose you bought a CD by a group, and it just happened you got a bad one. Are you going to buy another one? No. If you go to a restaurant and have a bad meal, are you going to go there again? No. So going the second time is dependent on you having had a good meal, or buying a second CD, on having a good CD. Now supposing that's at random, and then you look at you've got a degree of goodness for a meal, and it's evenly distributed, but you know that you've got one that was above average. But now the probability is the next one you'll get will be average. In other words, we're not saying that the group does a worse CD. No, they just produce them different CDs at random. But if you hit a bad one, then you're not going to buy the next one. If you go to a bad meal, then you're not going to get the next one. So your chance of getting a better meal the second time you go to a restaurant is less, because you've made a subjective mistake of thinking that the next meal, the quality of the next meal, depends on the quality of the meal before. If you had a good meal, or if you liked the CD, then because the next CD or the next meal will be of random quality, the probability that it will be less good is very high. So we get another counterintuitive phenomenon. We try to draw a general rule, which is, you're necessarily going to like the second CD less than the first, whereas in fact if you forced yourself and insisted, no, I'm always going to buy the second CD after I bought the first one, whether I like the first one or not, then actually there might be a chance that the second one would be better. But you don't, because you don't do that, in other words, because there's a condition there, then we get another counterintuitive result. Okay. These things are going to be terribly important to you, whatever your field of study is. Right, now I'm going to go on to the second subject for today, which is intellectual property. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Now, what do we mean by intellectual property? Again, something important to all of you. What do we mean by intellectual property? Oh, it's terribly important. Intellectual property. What about then copyright? What do we mean by copyright? No, we don't know the word in Turkish. Telif hakkı. Fikir mülkiyeti. Fikir mülkiyeti, do we know what fikir mülkiyeti is? Anyone like to give us a suggestion? Intellectual property, it's the idea of having a right. Copyright. Copyright, patents, these kind of things. It's a legal right over an idea or a text or a creative work. So you can have copyright in books, in magazines. Any other examples? CDs, music, films. all these kind of things. Intellectual property is the way in which the right of a company or a person who's created something like that is protected legally, and they can make money out of it. And we're going to talk about that today. It's terribly important because it's become terribly important economically, and it affects our lives. And I'm sure, how many people here have ever downloaded a video or some music illegally? How many people have ever downloaded a film without paying for it? Right? I think there's more than that. How many people have downloaded music without paying for it? Almost everybody. Yes. You're all thieves again. See, you stole from Microsoft and now you're stealing from the record companies. So it's a social phenomenon. You know, you're now in breach of the law because you're in breach of the laws of intellectual property. You've taken something which has copyright on it, and you've taken it for nothing. Do you think that's a wrong thing to do? What do you think about it? You know, they put all these things in the paper saying, you know, they printed on the back of CDs as well, saying, you know, you're stealing from the artist, you're preventing the artist from making a living and so on. What do you think about that? Do you think about it? No? You just do it. Just do it. Okay, good. Well, I hope we will start to think about these things. I'm not saying necessarily that I think it's terribly wrong, but I'm going to skip through that. But I want to talk about the general idea of intellectual property and why it's important. I'm going to tell you a story about intellectual property that's got nothing to do with films or music, at least to start with. We'll go on to music in a bit. I'll tell you a story about me. When I was 12 years old, I planted some seeds in the garden of our house in London. They were sunflower seeds, ayçiçek. And they weren't these little ones that they make sunflower seed oil out of, the big ones, you know, with a flower like a dinner plate. Really big flower, really tall, maybe 2-3 meters tall. And, you know, small boys like things that are big and grow quickly and so on. So I planted some sunflowers, I looked after them carefully, and they really did come up very big, very good. And I liked them, and I thought at the end of the summer, well, I read in a science encyclopedia about genetics. I thought, what will I do? I'll choose the seed from the very biggest flower, the very biggest, tallest flower, and I'll save that seed for next year. And I'll plant the seed next year, and then I'll have even bigger sunflowers, because I chose the seed from the biggest sunflower. So I did that, and I planted the seeds the next year, and something very interesting happened. The seeds came up, but when they came up, the plants weren't strong. They were weak, and they were sort of like this, or like this. The flowers weren't even yellow. Sometimes some of them were orange, some of them were purple. Everything was wrong about these plants. They really didn't look like anything. And I was horribly disappointed. There we are. There's the sunflowers. That's what... You can't see? You can't see the seed packet? There you are, the picture of the sunflowers. Can't you see that? I can see it. It's quite big, I think. Those are the flowers. And I was terribly disappointed. I just gave up on biology. I thought, you know, this genetics must be a load of nonsense. Now here's a different flower. And I thought no more about it. I forgot about it. I came to live in Turkey. And I met lots of people. But I met someone in particular who'd had some experience with flowers and seeds. She and her husband, after 12th of September 1980, like many people, like many of the professors in this university, didn't have a job. They'd been thrown out of their jobs for political reasons, just like, you know, all the Murat Belges and Mete Tunçay's in Bilgi. They were out of work, Murat Belge was making encyclopedias. These friends weren't academics, so they didn't have a chance to make encyclopedias. Instead, they decided to open a greenhouse and grow flowers and sell flowers to flower shops. So they borrowed money from their relatives. They opened a serra, a greenhouse in Bostanja. And they got some petunia seed from Holland, some special seed, and they planted the seed in pots and they grew the flowers in the greenhouse and they supplied them to the florist shops. And they were doing very, very well. And by the end of the year, they paid off some of their debts to their relatives. And then it came to the end of the season, they said, well, what are we going to do? And the wife said, the woman said, let's get some more of that special seed from Holland. And the man said, no, there's no need to get new seed. What we can simply do is take the last lot of flowers that we grow at the end of the season, take the seed from those flowers and plant that seed next year. Okay. Good. Being the man, of course, the man won the argument, and they did that. They didn't get more seed from Holland. What they did was they took the seed from the plants and planted it. And when this lady was explaining this story to me, she then said something which rang a bell in my mind. She said, we planted the seed, and when the plants came up, they weren't strong, they were weak. And the flowers were funny and strange. And she used the expression, it didn't look like anything. Hiçbir şeye benzemiyordu. And that reminded me of my experience with sunflowers. And I thought, something's going on here. There's some common factor in the experience I had in 1961 and the experience these two Turkish people had in 1984. And I'll show you what the common thing is. If you look carefully at these seed packets, which I bought much later, let's look at the packet. Here's the sunflower seed packet. I'm going to zoom in on it. It's got that on it. It says F1. F1 seed. And then let's look at the petunia seed packet. Very different flower. And look, that's F1 as well. And what does F1 mean? F1 is a particular kind of seed, a particular way of making seed. It's called an F1 hybrid. How do they make F1 seed, and what's the idea behind it? What they do with the seed producers who produce F1 seed do this. They take a population of a particular plant and they force the plants into akraba evliliği. They make them only pollinate make each plant only pollinate itself. So they put plastic bags over the heads of the flowers, and they do this process, and they do this over and over again, and they produce lots of genetically pure strains of flowers, all of which look horrible. And they then take all these strains and then they just cross them once, which is why it's called an F1 hybrid. And you get this phenomenon that if you take these two purebred strains and put them together, then you get a strong, good, for some combinations, you get a strong, good plant with the characteristics you desire coming out of it. But because of the way in which the genetic material from the father plant and the mother plant are combined, the second generation is no good. The second generation goes back to being weedy and horrible. Just the first generation. So what does that mean? It means you can produce a seed for a plant where the plant is fine, but the plant's children, just like in akraba evliliği, will all be slightly peculiar, will be disabled, will not be good plants. Now, why would you want to do that? Why would a seed producer want to produce a seed that was good for one generation, but not good for two? Why would the seed producer want to do that?
Because every year we buy these seeds.
That's right, because every year the farmer or the flower grower is forced to go back to the seed producer to get the seed, because the farmer or the flower grower can't produce the seed from them, for themselves. And it means that the seed producer has a monopoly. That is, you have to go back to the seed producer. You can't compete with the seed producer and produce seed yourself. Do you know what percentage of the sunflowers in Turkey are F1 seed, are grown from F1 seed? It's about 70%. Most of it produced by a company called Cargill. So the sunflower seed oil is a very important agricultural product in Turkey. 70% of that product is dependent on Cargill, a multinational company, for their seeds, for these F1 seeds. And you can't take the seeds that you squash to make the oil and plant them to make new sunflowers, because you get something that's no good. So why do we have this sort of things? It's perfectly possible to make seeds which are good, which have good plants and good food characteristics and so on, without using F1 hybrids. But the advantage of F1 hybrids isn't that you get a better plant. The advantage is for the company that's selling the seed. And this is rather a common characteristic of these discussions about intellectual property. You see, it wasn't necessary. Here I bought a packet of seeds of giant sunflowers, and you can see those ones aren't F1. In other words, it's possible to do it without it being an F1 hybrid. But if you use those seeds, you can use the seeds again. Okay? And that's even worse. This is off another packet of seeds. It says semi-dwarf, pollen-free. No pollen, no children. So, you know, it's a sterile plant that can't produce seed at all. Okay? Right. So, now why is it so important? And it hasn't always been so important. If we look at history, for instance, copyright hasn't been so important in the past, and now it's become very, very important. There are many more international conferences and agreements about copyright, about protecting patents and so on. It's become much, much more important in the last 20 years, really, than it used to be. And now they're talking about patenting all kinds of things that weren't patented before, like the human genetic code is being patented. Even though it's something all of us carry in our bodies, it's being patented. So let's have a look at patent and copyright and get an idea about it. And what is a patent? A patent is you've invented something, and in order that you can get back something from having invented that, the effort you put into inventing it, for a relatively short time, the law guarantees that only you can make this thing, or only you, or if someone else makes this thing, your invention, they have to pay you a license fee. Only with your permission can this invention, so you invented something, a better mousetrap, for a limited time, I think 17 or 25 years, depends on the country, you get the right to patent it. Here's something, here's an invention. This is an interesting invention. This is for bald people, an invention, so it's of some interest to me. You'll see we have a bald man at the top left, and the bald man's problem is he doesn't want people to know that he's bald. You see? So what he does is, you can see in figure 1, you have to take these bits at the side, what my daughter calls my circle hair. You see, because I've got a circle with no hair, and then there's a circle hair around the side. You have to take these bits and you have to grow them longer, like this, all the way around. That's figure 1. You see, side view as well. You see you've grown the hair. Quite looks like me, doesn't it? Right? Now what you do in figure 3 is you carefully separate these long bits into 3 parts. Okay? One here, and one at the back. Right? Now first of all, looking from the back, you see you take the right hand one and you put it over like that. Okay? And then you take the left hand one and you put it over like that. And then finally, for the pièce de résistance, you take this stuff at the back, you see, and you put that over the top, and through doing it, you lick it all down so that it will stay in place. And then once you've done that, you look like that. you've looked like that, you see, boop, boop, boop. You look like that, and no one will ever know that you're bald. They'll just think you've got a cat sitting on your head. Right? You look ridiculous. But this is the idea. This is an invention. Okay? This is an invention. How to not look bald. It's an invention, and it is patented. US patent. The patent's now. The patent was granted in 1977. So you can now do this business if you want to without paying a license to the man who invented this. But this patent was granted in 1977. So that's a rather silly patent. But in fact, patents are now terribly, terribly important. And people are rushing, as I said, to do things like patent the human genome. That is the genetic material inside it. Why? Because if you can patent pieces of the human genome, then the hope is that from this you'll be able to produce medicines which you can patent, and then the drug company will make lots of money. And if you look at the last 20 years, things like the World Trade Organization, alongside the World Trade Organization we have the World Intellectual Property Organization, trade-related intellectual property negotiations called TRIPS, and it applies to all kinds of things. Now pharmaceutical companies are going off to Brazil or Indonesia or Malaysia or the African forests and patenting the plants there. Wild plants, patenting wild plants because they hope that from these wild plants they'll be able to create drugs. And why is that happening? Well, why is it becoming important? It's really connected to the same reason why we've got this great big economic crisis at the moment, the credit crunch. Over the period since the Second World War, if you look at this graph, the amount of machinery used compared to the amount of labour involved in the production process has been going up and up and up, very substantially. Particularly in Europe, it's gone up a lot. In America, it's also gone up a lot, but not as much as in Europe, because America's machinery wasn't all destroyed in the Second World War. And one of the results of that is that real profitability in the world economy is going down. So if we look at this from 1961, you see profits going down and down and down. Of course, there are ups and downs, but the overall average level over time is going down and down and down. And when we have a situation like that in the economy, what do big businesses do? If they can't make profit out of the normal run of things, they want to find ways of stealing from other capitalists, from other businesses. They want to find ways, so you'll see, for instance, that in Turkey, many businesses make a substantial part of their profit from speculation, from interest, from lending money to the government, rather than from production. That's another figure showing the same thing. So these falling profits, one of the ways that you can stop profits falling is by making monopolies. So one of the biggest monopolies, of course, is Microsoft. Microsoft can make lots more money than anyone else because they have a monopoly over Windows. No one else can sell Windows. They have 90% of the market for desktop computers. Therefore, they can set a price for Windows which is far, far, far above what it costs to make it. So by getting a monopoly, that's what you can do. You can charge a price much higher than the cost of making something. And that's why we have phenomena like the World Intellectual Property Organization, TRIPS, and we have all this intellectual property discussion, not just about computer software, but also about drugs and flowers and the human genome. Right. Now there's an argument now about it. Because intellectual property has become so much more important, people discuss about this, and there have been big extensions to the length of copyright. It used to be that copyright would only last for a short time after the author's death, for instance. It's now up to 90 years after the author's death. So copyright lasts long after even a writer or a musician's grandchildren are dead. And one of the arguments is that intellectual property rewards the creators. And if you look on the back of the CDs you buy, you'll see, it says this, that if you copy the CD or download the music, then you're taking money away from the creators of the music. So, yes, we've just got time to do it. Let me just play you some music. And here we go. I'm going to prove that I didn't download this by playing you from the original CD. This is, anybody like Nirvana? Oh, good. Quite a few Nirvana fans in. Right. I like Nirvana too. This is Nirvana's In Utero album, which came out in 1994. And I paid for this. This is a real, it's not even, it's not a copy CD. It's the real thing. And let's just... Right, what I want is track 3. I hope the sound's on up there. Says... It's quite a popular album, went to number 1 in the spring of 1994. But it was very cheaply made. It was recorded in a week. Okay, this is Heart-Shaped Box, this song. It was MTV Video of the Year in 1994. The record was produced by Steve Bandini, and Steve Bandini produced a balance sheet for who got what from this particular record, In Utero. Here we go. Record company got $710,000, dollars. Steve Bandini got $90,000. The group's manager got $51,000. The studio got $52,500. Previous label, I don't know why, got $50,000. Agent, $7,500. Lawyer, $12,000. Now we'll see how much the band got. Each member of the band got $4,031.25. And according to their contract, the band owed the record company almost as much money as that. That was Nirvana's last studio album. They produced a live album after that, but never went into the studio again. Kurt Cobain committed suicide in April 1994. As I say, he didn't die penniless, but he hated the music industry, and you could see from those figures I gave how little the creators were protected by the fact that this is a protected CD. All the money, almost all the money, went to the record company and to people involved in in the music industry, not to the people who created the music. Okay. At that point, it says unknown artist. At that point, we can leave that, and we'll take a break, and we'll go on to another example of how intellectual property did not reward the creators after the break. Okay?